Good afternoon, folks. Welcome back to another news broadcast live from your hometown, Midland, Michigan. Tonight, we are following the presidential elections, but not like you might think we would. Today, we have a special surprise for you. Now, we hand over the broadcast to Kyle. Go ahead, Kyle.
Hey, thanks, Garrett. All right, folks. So today we aren't just looking at the polls, like Garrett said. Today we will be taking a special look at the controversial topic of compulsory voting, also known as mandatory voting. A type of voting system used in many countries, 22 to be exact, such as Australia, Brazil, Argentina, Belgium, Congo, Costa Rica, Greece, Egypt, and the list just goes on. Now, Garrett, in these countries, what happens to a person if you, let's say, choose not to vote?
Well, Kyle, here's the thing. Some countries, like Australia, have had the system longer than you think. They have mastered it, so to speak, by working out all the bad parts of the system. Australia, for instance, gives their people a pretty hefty fine if you don't vote, which for me personally, voting isn't something I'd want to miss out on, especially when our forefathers fought so hard for the freedom to choose who the people want anyways.
See, now, Garrett, going back on our topic. But Garrett, isn't it also true that the forefathers also fought for the freedom of choice? Did I miss something, or what? Because I thought as an American, we had the choice to make our own decisions, whether it be to vote or not to vote. Couldn't something as big and controversial as this divide our country? I'm not trying to sound negative here, but America is called the land of the free for a reason, and if I'm not mistaken, it is called this because we as a whole and as individuals are free, which is something one should not trifle with, because the last thing someone would want is a mob of angry Americans upset because of their freedom, their right, and reason was taken away from them, and that, my friend, is why I disagree with this foreign law.
Well, Kyle, I can see where you're coming from, but I'm going to have to disagree with you on this one, because for some reason, Australia has been running with this type of system since 1925, and they haven't had any issues yet. Same with Congo, Argentina, Brazil, and any other country you think of. I'm not saying that this is a bad idea, but I'm just saying that it hasn't not worked, so why wouldn't we try it?
Well, you say that they've never had a problem, but when you look into the facts, their voting percentage of the percentage of people that voted, the Argentina, for example, before they required mandatory voting, their voting percentage was 87%. Currently now, with their law that requires mandatory voting, they're only in 89%. That's only a 2% difference.
Well, even though that may be true, I think most can agree that if everyone voted, we'd have we have a better chance of having someone more qualified being voted in as a president, especially with such a high position. You want everyone to agree on them, and if they don't agree on them, they shouldn't be president.
Okay, Garrett, I understand that you recorded a vlog on the matter at one point.
Yes, I did.
Okay, let's take you over to that.
So, last spring, President Barack Obama suggested that Americans be required to vote. It would be transformative if everyone voted, he said. Many Americans don't exercise their right to vote. This can be a problem in the U.S. because presidents, I'm not going to name anyone bad, because I'm not that kind of person, but 36% of eligible voters cast ballots, a record low since World War II, which means that more Americans are choosing not to vote. For some reason, after years and years of fighting for it, they just decided, I don't want to vote. If we required people to vote, more than half of the American country and population would decide to vote. This would make a huge difference in who gets elected and how they get elected, and what is going on with our country. What am I saying? Alright, so I hear you have your own blog as well, Kyle.
That would be correct. Let's watch it. Okay, guys, here we are. So, today you want to talk about mandatory voting. Here it is. It violates our First Amendment. It doesn't give us the freedom of choice whether we want to vote or we don't. It just tells us we have to vote. Also violates freedom of speech and freedom of religion. Some religions don't allow voting. Well, guess what? You wouldn't have a choice if they pass mandatory voting. Shown here in this poll is what people think about mandatory voting. The darker bars showing majority of people don't like the thought of mandatory voting. 72% as of today don't agree with mandatory voting and don't want it. So, vote. Would it help? Looking at Argentina, it only brought them up 2%. It went from 87 to 89% of votes, people voting in their population. So, you tell me.
According to the International Institute for Democracy and Electoral Assistance, between 1945 and 2015, turnout hovered around 85% in compulsory voting countries like Australia, Belgium, and Brazil, but it fell from 75% to 65% in countries with voluntary voting. Resulting like these may be why President Obama recently said, if everybody voted, then it would completely change the political map of this country.
This here is a chart that was provided to us showing this fluctuation. Okay, Garrett, but the thing is, with that, how many of those countries have been in war in the past 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and
America.
such?
And with that note, here we'd like to thank our sources for all the information they provided us.
This would be his side.